Friends, and welcome back to our nightly Zen practice. Um, so, as I do each night, I'll begin by paying homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So last night I tried to stream this both on YouTube and on Facebook at the same time. It did not work. I think it works if I do it on this program from Restream. So we're giving it a try. I've used this in the past, back when I used to do these when I was living in Panama, and it was successful. So I hope I can make it work this time. So after paying homage to the Buddha, I enjoy reciting and reading the the Bodhicitta prayer. So with that, I will we'll start with the Bodhicitta prayer. So here we go. Bodhicitta prayer. With a wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. Thank you very much. So tonight I labeled my title for tonight's practice, Teachings from Zen Masters. And I wanted to share a couple of things with you from teachings from two great Zen Masters to show A, a little bit of their similarities, and B, to talk a little bit about why we practice Zen. So by way of background, when I first started practicing Buddhism, I practiced at a local temple in California called Chua Guan Am, Vietnamese temple, named after Guan Yin, or Avalokiteshvara, as the Sanskrit would call this bodhisattva, the great bodhisattva of compassion. And like all practitioners of Pure Land, I chanted and recited the name of the Buddha or of a bodhisattva over and over as a way of homage, as a way of meditation, much like we do when we chant to Jijang Bosal, and we'll do that again later tonight, just over and over and over, in hopes that that would somehow assist me in my path to liberation, my path to relieving suffering. When I first started, I suffered from some bad PTSD from events that occurred in a previous occupation. And I started meditating to find escape from that, to find relief from that. Anyway, so there was the abbot at the temple that I practiced. His name was Thich Dao Wang, an elderly gentleman. Turns out that this gentleman was a Vietnamese Zen master. But when he moved to America, he said Zen was too hard for most people. They wouldn't be able to do it. So instead of opening a Zen temple, he opened a Pure Land temple. And his philosophy was that Pure Land practice was easier for people to um, live their precepts, devote their lives to the triple gem, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, um, and prepare themselves for another life where they might find their own emancipation, their own enlightenment. Uh, his rationale was good. Um, and I understand why he did that. He wanted to reach the masses with the Dharma. Um, but I still sat and meditated in quiet in his temple and sat there many days and weeks on end. I would sit there and practice both repetitive chanting meditation and just silent zazen meditation. Um, I eventually found that Zen was a better path for me. Zen did not procrastinate the day of one's uh, emancipation. Zen taught you can find your true self. You can find that true mind, that one mind, here now in this life, and that was the path that I decided was better for me. Um, and I ran across. I've been reading a book lately, and I'm going to share that screen with you here so you can see what it is I'm reading. So I'm reading this book here right now, um, the way of Korean Zen by Kusan Sunim. Sunim means Zen master in Korean, and this is one of the um, most well-known Zen masters from Korea uh, in the 20th century. In addition to um, the grandfather of the tradition that I sit with, Sung San Sunim, or Sun Sanim, as they would call him, Great Zen Master. Um, and They both taught very similarly. So there was a passage here, a couple of passages here that I came across while reading the Way of Korean Zen, and it resonated a lot with me because I had experienced kind of a realm of practicing uh, Pure Land Buddhism for a while, and all the things that set wrong with me about not finding my own liberation, not finding my own relief from suffering in this life, but putting it off to the next life, are the things that Kusan Sunim um, finds wrong with it too. And again, I don't think he's trying to disparage the notion of Pure Land, but he's trying to teach the immediacy of what we seek in Zen. Um, So I want to share just a couple of passages that he wrote in here, relevant to that topic, and then I'm going to get to where I'm going with teachings from some of my other Zen master teachers that I sit with. Kusan Senim wrote this. He says, "There are people nowadays who think that sentient beings in these degenerate times are unable to make progress through meditation. They believe that it is impossible to perceive one's original nature and realize Buddhahood. Therefore, they maintain that one should simply recite the Buddha's name or study sutras with the hope to be reborn in a pure land. However, this is foolish practice, because instead of seeking the Buddha within themselves, they continuously look for him elsewhere. But if they were to search for their own mind and awaken to it, they would realize that they themselves are intrinsically Buddhas. Upon awakening to the mind, they will immediately come to be endowed with the observance of the precepts, an understanding of the sutras, and the presence of a pure land. When one awakens, this world becomes a pure land. There is no pure land anywhere else. Therefore, the most effective and true practice is to awaken to the mind. Kusan Sunim goes on to write, the nature of the entire universe is your own mind. All things are created by the mind and arise from it. So where is the creator of the universe? Your own mind alone is the creator. There is no one else who created it for you. Therefore, this universe is your own universe. This is true whether you are awakened or not. The universe can be affirmed or negated only because we are here now. If we were not present, there would be no one to make such affirmations or denials. Since we create the universe, how can one say that we came from anywhere or will depart to somewhere else? In reality, there can never be any such coming or going. Hence, it is meaningless to talk of going to a pure land. For how can a pure land exist elsewhere when in fact it is latent within one's own mind? It is thus a great mistake to ignore the mind and instead just recite the name of Amitabha Buddha with the belief that this will lead you to a distant world created through the 48 vows of that Buddha. I found that to be poignant, to say the least. And that was exactly how I felt as I practiced Pure Land, was that there was no immediacy for this for me. In Zen, we often say, and there's statements in here by Kusan Sunim as well, that we should practice like our hair is on fire. Now, for a monk, there's not much hair. And for an older gentleman such as myself, there's not much hair on top to burn. But the concept is the same. Practice with the immediacy. Practice with that immediacy that we want to figure it out and find that one true mind. So I really enjoyed that. I felt like it was truly what I was looking for when I found Zen, was that I can learn the sutras. I can chant to bodhisattvas and Buddhas over and over and over again. But in the end, if it's not helping me awaken right here, right now, then I don't really understand the Buddha Dharma. And so that was the purpose of my search for how can I better awaken now. And yet still, I've explained to some of you before, I struggled with kind of this dualistic or multiplistic way that the Buddha Dharma is often portrayed. We find ourselves sometimes practicing Vajrayana or Theravada or Mahayana styles or sects of Buddhism, and we think that they're all different. And yet they're not necessarily different if we reach to the core of what it is we're really trying to accomplish. And that accomplishment is the cessation of suffering. And in Zen, we talk about that cessation of suffering as an awakening, as in discovering what the true nature of all things is. And that to me is extremely important in my own path to learn how to alleviate suffering. A Zen master who I sat under for many years, Master Myodo Jabo, after I took Bodhisattva priest and monk vows, she knew I was going to, with Master Unsan, whom I sit with in One Mind Zen. And she wanted to send me a congratulatory message. She sent me a beautiful card. But she was recently in Korea, and she sent me this lovely chukpi. And it came in the mail today. And it is It is absolutely gorgeous, and it resonates so well for meditation practice. In the Korean Zen tradition, um, we don't ring a bell to start our meditation. We don't hit a gong or anything like that. We use a chukpi, and the chukpi is clapped 3 times to begin the meditation, and the meditation leader will bow to the group, and then they all meditate. And at the end of the meditation period, the chukpi is clapped again to end the meditation. Um, I was deeply touched by Master Miyoto sending that to me. It is beautiful. Um, but it's special to me. Um, and I'll tell you the story why her teachings are so important in my development, um, both into uh, a Zen priest, but also uh, as a practitioner and uh, as a person seeking that awakening. I used to struggle with, as I said, this dualistic, multiplistic nature of Buddhism, trying to figure out which one was real, which one was really Buddhism, um, because I only wanted to follow the right one. I only wanted to practice the real one, the authentic one. Um, and as I mentioned, I studied Pure Land first. That was my first foray into Buddhism. Um, and then I began a Zen practice. And then along the way, shortly after I began a Zen practice, I began studying Theravada Buddhism and the Pali Canon with a wonderful teacher, first in Anaheim and then in Riverside County. And I was conflicted. Now I had experienced 3 different variations uh, of Buddhist practice, and I was conflicted as to which one I should find more important, which one I needed to incorporate into my own life as a devotee. And it was a real struggle for me. And it was only after I learned, or I found within me this bodhicitta, that I decided Zen was really my home. This bodhicitta spirit was really what convinced me of that. And yet I still struggled with um, the truths that I found in studying the Pali Canon. And I went to Master Miyoto once, and I told her, I said, I thought I had figured it out, that there had been an awakening of bodhicitta in me, but I still struggled with a little bit of this dualistic nature, as I called it, of Buddhism. She told me, she said, Minwei, there are many paths up the mountain when your intent is pure. And that statement from this wise Zen master changed my whole life in a lot of ways. And it let me grasp onto all that I found good in all the different practices of Buddhism, because I stopped making opposites. I stopped my dualistic thinking of this is or this isn't Buddhism. And it really refreshed my soul, so to speak. It opened my mind, as we would say, to the true nature of Buddhism. And as I was reading The Way of Korean Zen, I read this quote from Kusan Sunim, and it is not different. It's the same, spoken in a little bit more Korean way. Kusan Sunim said, remember that you can look at Mount Chogje from the north as well as the south. If the mountain is the Dharma, we can look at it from the north as well as the south. And that was the same lesson that I had to hear, I had to learn from Master Myoto. And I am so grateful that that set me on a better path. Now I see the Dharma for what it is. And I owe that to her. And whether she knew she was adding a new quote or a new summation of Kusan Sunim, I don't think so. I think it was her own wisdom that taught me that lesson, and I bow to her for that. So that's my Dharma story for tonight. A lot about me, but about not making opposites, letting go of the dualism, not one, not two, as we say. It is all, and it's everything. And the Taoism part of Zen really helps us to see that that the way is everywhere. Everything is the way. And understanding that and learning our one true mind emancipates us. That is the Buddha within us. So thank you. Thank you for sitting with me. So now it's my time to chant for my niece Lily. You can sign off now if you want to. And I'm going to chant to the Bodhisattva Kshitigarbha. And then at the end of that, we will say the 4 great vows. And we'll end our session for tonight. So let me find you here. If I can, let me find you. So this is the Bodhisattva Kshitigarbha, who guides those through the bardo after their passing. And this is who I dedicate my practice tonight for my niece in chanting to Jijang Bosal, the Korean version of Kshitigarbha. So. Jijang Bosal, 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 ji jang bo so, ji jang bo so, ji jang bo so, ji jang bo so. Ji jang bo so, 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 ji jang bo so. Ji jang bo so, 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 ji jang bo so. Ji jang bo so, 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 ji jang bo so. Again, so I dedicate that to Lily for her safe passage through the Bardo. And finally, we will recite the four great vows and call it an evening. The four great vows. Sentient beings are numberless. We vow to save them all. Delusions are endless. We vow to cut through them all. The teachings are infinite. We vow to learn them all. The Buddha way is inconceivable. We vow to attain it. Thank you for joining me tonight, friends. And I look forward to our next practice session together. And we'll see you tomorrow. Well, tomorrow I have Zen practice with One Mind Zen Collective, so we might skip tomorrow night. And Thursday night I usually try to sit with Single Flower Zen group, but I'll be back by Friday for sure, and you might see me tomorrow night too. We'll see. All right. Good night, everyone. May you all